Welcome to the second session of Let's Dig Deeper. Out here, as we know, that we are working towards the betterment of our RC and learning how to analyze and go through a reading comprehension, the passage, and the nitty gritties of whatever is present in the passage, right? So that we learn how to eliminate the options which are given across and deduce the correct answer every time. So keeping that in mind, this is yet another passage, and this part is again going to cover up the conversational part, right? Conversational analysis part 2, which we have seen a lot in IPMAT this year itself. So there was one question of conversational analysis, and it means that it is quite important. It might be there this time as well. So the questions are a bit different from what is there generally seen in a normal passage. This one moreover talks about the functionality of a word or the understanding, the meaning of the word given across in the passage. Okay. Moreover, it is in the form of an interview, right? So the reading style might change. It might create a bit of unease because you have not been practicing this kind of a read before. So never mind. Let's come across and let's see what do we have in store this time. So the second one, the second conversational practice is there are there is an interviewer and then there is a professor. His name is Professor Verma. Let's see. So the name might be anything, hardly matters. The important part is the content that is given across. Interviewer: Professor Verma, your latest book, The Emerald Whale, suggests that the green movement has been hijacked by the very industries it was meant to regulate. Okay, fine. So first thing we understand that he has come across with a book by the name of Emerald Whale, and in which he has indicated that the green movement has been hijacked. Okay, which means green movement is not working fine and it has been taken over by the very industries it was meant to regulate. So they created green movement to regulate some industries, and the very industries now have taken over the green movement. You call it a marketing masterclass in misdirection. So you say that it is, as per Mr. Verma, Professor Verma, it is nothing but a marketing misdirection, which means like uh, this it is just being shown in a different way. Everyone feels that green movement is happening, but it is not so. Fine, some kind of misdirection. The people are getting misled. Isn't that a bit cynical given the record investments in ESG, which is environmental, society, social, and governance funds? So, interviewer is actually questioning the professor himself, calling him to be doubtful as there has been so much of investment going on in the ESG, which is environmental, social, and governance funds. Professor Verma says cynicism is often just realism with a shorter fuse. Realism is something which is practical, cynicism is the doubt. Okay, so it is nothing but a part of the reality only. Look at the data, not the brochures. So he's actually telling the interviewer that don't go for the brochures. Brochures beautifies everything, right? But if you look at the data, it is not in alignment to the things that are being said. We are seeing a massive surge in carbon neutral certifications. Okay, carbon neutral certifications. These are the kind of certifications which are given across to the industries in which it is certified that the carbon they are not doing any kind of carbon emission. Fine, that's why carbon neutral. We are seeing a massive surge. It's huge, right? The number is increasing. Okay, in carbon neutral certifications, which means like many industries are getting and the number is increasing, right? This kind of a certification. Yet global emissions continue to climb. And even then, even after all this, when we look at the global emissions, okay, global emissions as in the carbon emissions globally continue to climb. So, of course, the question is quite good. The point that has been taken up by Professor Verma is quite good, right? He says that if we are giving across so many certificates every year, then how is it that still the carbon emission it is increasing as well, right? ESG has become a linguistic shield. So he says that ESG is nothing but a linguistic shield. They are just saying so. They are just for the sake of saying something. They are saying it. If a petroleum giant spends $10 million on a carbon capture pilot project and 100 million on an ad campaign about that project, they aren't saving the planet, they are purchasing a conscience at a discount. So he's saying that they are spending so much out here, right? They are just showing that ad. In the ad they are showing that yes, we are doing so much in this, but in reality they are just spending 10 some very less amount compared to what they are spending to show themselves that they have become carbon neutral and other stuff, and they have become eco-friendly. They are following the green movement and everything. uh, it is not saving the planet, right? They are just purchasing a conscience at a discount. So conscience is like the morality, the ethics. They're just buying it out. That too at a very lower cost, right? Interviewer, but aren't these incremental steps necessary? So he says like these steps are actually necessary, right? We can't transition to a circular economy overnight. So he says like we cannot just go about and become a circular economy overnight. Circular economy is basically when we talk in terms of we use the um, the resources, okay, and the used resources and we reuse it, okay, recycle, reuse. That becomes your circular economy, okay, overnight. Even greenwashing, as you call it, keeps the conversation at the forefront of the public mind. So he says like yeah, even this greenwashing, uh, as you call, like as Professor Verma calls it, keeps the conversation at the forefront of the public mind. So everyone keeps on hearing this, knows this, and everyone wants to work upon it. So, but these are incremental steps, right? It is gradual, not that it is going to happen overnight. Professor Verma said that is dangerous fallacy. Fallacy is something which is not true, right? Greenwashing doesn't just mislead, it is just a mislead, nothing else. Okay? It crowds out genuine innovation. Crowds out, throws away. Okay? It throws away the genuine innovation. When a fast fashion brand releases a conscious collection, so fast fashion means like it is going well, very good. Okay? A brand releases a conscious collection, okay, made of 5% recycled polyester while increasing their total output by 20%, right? So what is it? They are using recycled because they have to. That's what they are saying. But they are using just 5% of that. And they are also increasing their total output by 20%. So they are increasing their output, right? They aren't transitioning. In that case, they are not transitioning. They are not changing anything. There is no transformation. They are cannibalizing the movement. So what are they doing? They are just cannibalizing their movement. How is that done? So what is cannibalization? It is basically when when a company comes across with a product, a new product, fine, and that product eats away, or it takes a bigger market than the other product or the previous product that the same company had come across with, fine. That is basically called as cannibalizing, okay. It creates a facade of progress, so it shows the facade of progress, right? Facade is what? Facade is basically when we are talking about just a veneer, right? It's a fake thing, right? It just shows you see, you look, it says, it seems quite beautiful, but it is deceptive, right? Okay. So facade of progress that lulls the customer, lulls, pacifies the customer, consumer into a sense of moral satisfaction. So he is morally he is satisfied. Every time a consumer goes through any place, he goes to a place, a big brand, it is written it is 100% organic, uh, eco-friendly, not even organic, eco-friendly maybe, right? Following the rules of green movement and other stuff. So you morally feel that you are safe, you are doing something good, right? Which actually reduces the political pressure needed for real systemic change. And of course, if you are satisfied, you would not question the politics or the government, and automatically the government is not going to put any kind of pressure on the people, on the concerned people, right? So there is no systemic change out there. Interviewer, so the consumer is complicit. So interviewer says that is the consumer also a part of this unlawful practice? Professor Verma, the consumer is overwhelmed. We have offloaded the burden of planetary survival onto the individual's choice of a paper straw. So what has happened? They have offloaded, they have gotten off, right? They have unloaded, dumped the burden of planetary survival into the individual's choice of paper straw. So we go across with a paper straw and we feel that yes, we are doing something for the uh, planet, right? While the industrial machinery remains untouched, but the whole system, the machinery of the industry is not getting checked. They are not changing, right? True sustainability isn't about better consumption. It's not about better consumption. It's about a fundamental reduction in throughput. Fine. So what does it mean? It means like fundamentally reduction. There has to be a reduction, not like you add 5% and you increase 20% of the uh, total output, right? So it is basically all about the reduction, the actual reduction. Throughput is what we are putting in as a resource, right? But less is a word that doesn't fit into a quarterly earnings report. So when we go through our quarterly earnings, quarterly reports, if we do not want to see the word less out there, right? We want to see the profit margin going, numbers increasing, and everything, right? So that's why we do not actually work upon it, right? Interviewer, critics argue that your all or nothing approach ignores the pragmatism. Pragmatism is something which is practical, right? Something based on practical. Required in global trade. Fine. So, which means, in other words, he's calling him as unrealistic, right? How do you respond to the perfect is the enemy of the good argument? So he says, like, how would you respond to this? Perfect is the enemy of the good argument. How do you go against it? So Professor Verma says, in biology, if you have a leak in a dam, incremental plugging doesn't work if the water is rising faster than you can patch it, right? Incremental plugging, incremental was gradual thing, right? So if there is a leak in the dam, you cannot be incrementally, it cannot be gradual, it has to be quick, it has to be very quick, right? We are treating a systemic hemorrhage with a designer bandage. So he says like it is basically a big hemorrhage, the wound is there, but we are trying to come across, the wound is quite deep and we are coming across with designer bandage. It looks beautiful, but it is not actually covering the wound. Pragmatism is only useful if it leads to a destination. Fine. So being practical is useful if it is reaching out uh, to what we want to achieve, right? Right now, our green movement is just a treadmill. So in our case, the green movement is a treadmill. How? Lots of motion. So there is plenty of motion, people running on it, right? But we are staying in the exact same place. We are not reaching out anywhere, but we are at the same place. So no matter how much we act, there is no result to it. Fine. Okay, it was an easy read. Let's come across to the questions. Which of the following best captures the central thesis of Professor Verma's argument? So, what is the central thesis out here? Let's read the first part. The A part says corporate ESG investments are purely fraudulent and offer no environmental benefit. Okay. So this is being this being very extreme towards the thought process about ESG. They said that they are paying, they are funding um, the ESG programs, or they are putting in a lot of investments in the ESG programs. And it's not that ESG are nothing but fraudulent or something like that, right? It's just that it's not working out. So A part is not something, it is going across to a very extreme level. B part says the green movement has failed because consumers are unwilling to reduce their total consumption. No, that was not so. It was not about the consumers. They never wanted to. Rather, they are trying to do their part in any way they can. Yeah, it's quite less. It's maybe it's insignificant, but they are still doing it. So it's not the unwillingness. So the B part will not work. Superficial environmentalism serves as a tactical distraction that prevents meaningful systemic reform. So, superficial environmentalism is, yes, definitely it is working because it is superficial. We are just trying to show, it's just a facade that, yes, the industries are becoming what? Uh, they have carbon neutral certifications, and they are very concerned. They are quite concerned about the ecology, the whole nature, the planet thing. But it is all superficial, right? It's just for namesake. Serves as a tactical distraction. So they are trying to distract clients with that, and that prevents meaningful systemic reform. And there is no systemic reform. Why? Because people, they are very, they trust the brands, and when the brands say that yes, they are they are doing something, they are following the green movement rules and regulations, so they trust them, they believe them, right? And in that case, when there is a moral satisfaction, they do not put any pressure on the politics, right? Politicians. So yes, it was out here. It creates a facade of progress that lulls the consumer into a sense of moral satisfaction, which actually reduces the political pressure needed for real systemic change. Yes, this is the thought process. This can give us the answer in C, right? Let's come across to D. Incremental changes in industrial output are the only pragmatic way to achieve a circular economy. No, it is not the central thesis of his argument, right? He's actually not for the incremental changes at all, right? So D is not the right answer. The right answer is C. Question number one, the answer is C. Let's do question number two. What does it say? What does Professor Verma imply by the comparison between carbon neutral certifications and global emissions? Certifications are technically inaccurate. Okay, I can actually stop it out here itself. He never called certifications to be technically inaccurate, right? Due to faulty carbon counting algorithms. So, no, A part cannot be my answer. B says there is a widening disconnect. Widening disconnect. There is a difference between symbolic corporate achievements that they have the certificate, carbon neutral certificate, and actual ecological outcomes. But the outcomes are still the same. The what emission is still there, right? The global emission is still, see, it is given across. We are seeing a massive surge in carbon neutral certifications, yet global emissions continue to climb. So we can very well understand that these parts are telling us that uh, this is basically the paraphrase of the same thing, that there is a disconnect between the uh, certification or the symbolic achievement and the actual outcome, which is the emission continuing to grow. So yes, B part can be kept. C part says organizations are intentionally falsifying data to meet ESG requirements. Organizations are intentionally falsifying data to meet ESG requirements. No, it was not talked about like that. So this part again goes away. They're not falsifying. They don't need to falsify. They are actually buying the certificate itself, right? By paying so much as investment. So it is not falsifying. Uh, and also the data is actually coming across that the emission is still climbing up, right? So which means like it is not about talking about falsifying the data. D part says global emissions are rising primarily because of the cost of implementing green technology. Okay. So global emissions are rising primarily because of cost of implementing green technology. Um, we never discussed about the cost. How much does it cost to implement green technology? So D part can be safely removed, and thus the right answer is 2. That is B. So question number 2, the right answer is B. Let's come across to 3. According to the text, why is greenwashing specifically harmful to genuine innovation? Okay, so greenwashing was there, and then genuine innovation. It diverts R&D funds away from tech startups towards traditional marketing firms. Now, as soon as we say this, what happens is we become very specific about tech startups, right? And it diverts R&D funds. Okay, so uh, does it so that when we do greenwashing, there is R&D funds go to that place? Somehow it does not fit in. I'm going to keep it for the time being. Let's see what happens next. It makes sustainable products too expensive. So what is happening? Sustainable products too expensive, right? For the average overwhelmed consumer. Consumer is already overwhelmed, right? And it makes the products too expensive. Okay, was it actually talking about something being expensive or something like that? No. Still, I'm gonna keep it. I'm just trying to find a better option, right? Whenever you come across, say, there would be two options. Okay, the first option is going to be either way you're not going to understand it, and you are going to, in that case, do not eliminate, right? If you understand it and you can actually find the fallacy out there, so do one thing, you just remove it out there itself. But if not, then what do? Just keep on reading and try to find the better option. Okay, and once you find the better option, go across and try the all the options again and see whether it is working or not. And then in that case, you would find that you can actually narrow down your search and eliminate easier. Okay, let's come across C part. It allows high polluting entities to satisfy public demand. It allows high polluting entities to satisfy public demand. So, what was the public demand? That we should recycle, reuse. Okay, high polluting entities like we have got what 5% recycled polyester, right? So that is your high polluting entities or something, without changing their core business models. But in reality, they are not changing their core model, right? They are still working on that, the same thing. Okay, so C part is definitely making more sense than A and B. D part says it leads to the all or nothing approach that critics find unpragmatic. Fine. So what happened? It leads to the all or nothing approach that critics find unpragmatic. Is it what greenwashing is about? Harmful to genuine innovation? No. So D part is talking about a different idea altogether. Yes. So out of A, B, and C, if you see, the better answer is C part. Fine. Because A, when we talked about A, it was talking about specially tech startups, which was very narrowed down, and B part was talking about being expensive, which was not given across. So the better answer is C, right? So question number 3, the answer has to be C. Let's go for question number 4. The paper straw example is used by professor to illustrate. So paper straw was basically talking about individuals, humans, and consumers and other people, not the industry. Industry, on the other hand, yes, it was definitely said that while humans were working upon paper straw, the industry was not actually touched, right? So let's see how it works about. The success of small scale grassroots movements in changing corporate behavior. It was not talking about success of small scale. Nothing was being talked about in success of small scales, right? So no, it was not a proper. This was not the thing that was used for. B, the misguided focus on individual consumer habits, individual humans, right? rather than industrial regulation. As easy as that. So if you can see, it's clearly making sense when we see here. The consumer is overwhelmed. We have offloaded the burden of planetary survival into the individual's choice of a paper straw, while the industrial machinery remains untouched. Right? So the same line, the misguided focus on individual consumer habits rather than industrial regulation. So we are going towards the people. We are asking them, don't use a plastic straw, rather use a paper straw. Fine. But we are not going to those industries where the problem is actually there, right? So yes, B part can be an answer. C part, the inherent fragility of the circular economy in a globalized trade system. Okay, the only thing that circular economy was talked about was that circular economy might take some time, right? This is what the interviewer actually said. uh, so C part again, not used by professor. The incremental steps that the professor believes are necessary for a tradition. So he's not for the incremental steps at all. So D part also goes away. The only option that is there is B part. So B is the right answer for question number 4. Let's come across to question number 5. How would Professor Verma most likely define pragmatism in the context of the environmental crisis? So, what is pragmatism in the context of environmental crisis? Accepting small symbolic victories. Small symbolic means what? Incremental. He was not asking for incremental at all, right? So, A part I can easily remove. B part says balancing the needs of quarterly earnings report with long term ecological goals. Balancing the needs of quarterly earning reports with long term ecological goals. Okay, I'll keep it for some time. Implementing changes that are actually sufficient to outpace the rate of ecological decline. Now, this is what he was trying to say, right? When he said pragmatism, he said implementing changes. So, changes have to be implemented, they have to be executed, right? Put into action that are actually sufficient. So they should actually be used. Actually comes across, resonates with the word pragmatism, right? Actually sufficient to outpace the rate of ecological decline. So there is, like, on one hand we can see the planet is going off, and on one side we say that yes, it is incremental, slowly and gradually we would be able to keep a track of it, or we can save the planet, right? But it is not what, as per Dr. Verma or Professor Verma, it should be what? It should outpace the rate of ecological decline, not that it is going to be incremental, right? So, yes, C part I can keep it. D says a binary trap that forces choice between protectionism and global trade. Of course, it does not have anything to do with your passage, so D part can easily be removed. So C and D, they are not working. A part we remove beforehand. So the right answer has to be B. So for B, sorry, not B, outpace, sorry. So the B part was already removed out there, right? Balancing the need of quarterly earning reports with the long-term ecological goals. And C part was where we wanted to talk about the outpacing and everything, right? So yes, the better answer is C out here and not B. So yeah, your answer would be C. Implementing changes that are actually sufficient. So we need pragmatic changes out there, practical changes, and those changes should be able to outpace that. They should be uh, quicker than the rate of ecological decline. Fine. So yes, C part is the right answer for question number 5. Question number 6. What is the tone of professor's final remark regarding the treadmill? Right? Okay. It's an easy question because you know treadmill where it was. It was in the last passage, paragraph or the dialogue, and we can just go out there and start working from there. It says guardedly optimistic. Was he guardedly optimistic? Definitely he was not optimistic. Indifferent to the efforts of corporations to improve their ESG scores. No, he was not indifferent to them. Indifferent is like he does not want to even give a thought to it, think about it, or any kind of emotion towards it. But that is not so. So B part is not working. C part says sarcastic and mocking of the consumer's desire for moral satisfaction. So he says that it is quite sarcastic and mocking of the consumer's desire for moral satisfaction. Was he sarcastic and mocking about the consumer's desire of moral satisfaction? No, he was not. He he definitely said that yes, consumers are morally satisfied. They feel that yes, now that it has been said, so it must be. So they get morally satisfied when they see that okay, something is being done about it, right? So and therefore the politics or the politicians or the government are not uh, they are not run after to do something about the whole situation. So okay, sarcastic and mocking it was not. So C part is not my answer. D says provocatively critical of the lack of actual progress despite high activity. Treadmill, despite high activity, so you are running on it but you're not reaching anywhere, right? So this is exactly what the treadmill was talking about, and therefore for question number 6, D makes sense, right? So the right answer for sixth is D. So as you see, we have finished yet another RC or conversational analysis. More to come your way. Wait for them, practice a lot, and definitely do well in your papers. Thank you. Until next time, this is Shashank Gupta from iQuanta.